Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is testifying in his ongoing corruption trial after a 2-month pause. The long-running trial, which has begun in 2020, has been repeatedly interrupted, first by the war in Gaza and, more recently, the conflict with Iran. Netanyahu's testified 80 times so far in a case that includes charges of bribery as well as fraud and breach of trust. We're going to cross now to Noor Rodi. She's following developments from near Ramallah in the occupied West Bank. So this long-running trial finally back in session. Remind us what the Prime Minister is accused of and why there have been so many delays, Noor.
Well, this is one of several trials, Rob. This one in particular has to do with Netanyahu, or the accusation that Benjamin Netanyahu exchanged influence for favourable coverage. This has to do with regulatory policies concerning a news outlet and changes that happened to those policies in exchange for Netanyahu getting favourable coverage. And they include bribery, they include breach of trust, they include using influence in an unlawful manner. Of course, Netanyahu denies all of those charges, but he has benefited from the several wars that he's launched since 2023 to delay these trials, even when he actually makes it to court, like today. Usually a sealed envelope is passed to him or to the judge. Today it was passed to him, and the trial will conclude 2 hours early, a delay tactic, according to many in the opposition, to make sure that this trial lasts for as long as possible to avoid any verdict, because a conviction in this criminal trial, Rob, would mean that Netanyahu cannot run for elections come October.
Well, one of those conflicts you were just talking about there is, of course, what's going on in Lebanon at the moment. There is supposed to be a ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon of some sort. What are we hearing from the government about the operations in Lebanon?
Well, a lot of news lines coming out regarding Lebanon, none that will make the public opinion in Israel happy. Let's start with Benjamin Netanyahu himself, the prime minister, who reportedly told his cabinet in a meeting last night that what the Israeli army is doing in Lebanon in terms of demolishing buildings and villages, in terms of attacking Hezbollah sites, not just within the occupied territory in Lebanon, but even beyond that. This is the maximum that Israel can do, because that is the cap that Washington has imposed on Israeli military activity. We're also hearing other lines that Netanyahu had spoken to the U.S. President Donald Trump, appealing to him that he needs to do more to escalate attacks, with Trump answering that the ceasefire in Lebanon must continue to hold. So basically putting the brakes relatively on Israeli military activity. And lastly, a leak in Israeli media about the Israeli Prime Minister asking the military of what they can do, what more can they do to ensure that Israeli northern border communities are safe. And the response from the military was that their presence, even 10 kilometers deep into Lebanon, will not secure the safety of Israelis in northern communities, because they simply did not anticipate the kind of tactics and the capabilities that Hezbollah is demonstrating, once again reminding that a political solution, in the opinion of the generals, would be the best way to ensure that communities in northern Israel would return to normalcy, because at the moment they're kind of striking. They're not sending their kids to school in protest. They're demanding a return to war because they simply do not feel safe, Rob.
Noor Rodi there, who's been following developments from near Ramallah in the occupied West Bank. Thank you very much indeed.